Hey everybody, it's Swan. I want to do a recap video of the Swan Lotto Friday picks from this past week. We had some nice winners, and I've had a lot of requests on explaining how to play this and what to do if the price gaps up or below the trigger price in pre-market. So we have a couple examples of what to do there as well. So this week we played Google, Rivian, Facebook, and PayPal. You can see the results there. Google played us both directions. Rivian over 200%. Facebook was the clear winner of the week, over 800%, and the PayPal was 273. So let's talk about Google. So here's the trigger levels: 3011, 2984. So the theory behind this is if the price closes above this price, you would buy a 3015 call, or if the candle closes below 2984, you would buy the 2980 put. So that's how that works. So let's look at the chart. So I've got the levels there. This is my call level. This would be my put level. As you can see, it actually played both directions. It went up above it and it came below it. But here's the thing. If you would have bought this candle right here on the 3-minute, you could have gotten some green, but you would have to move very, very fast because you can see that wicked up and came right back down. So this was a little bit of a tricky one, to be honest. I always tell people, if you can, wait for the retest. See, this candle did not close above the trigger. The close level was here. So that would have not been a green light to buy. The close hasn't actually happened till here at 9:57, my local time. Closed above. Went up to 3019, and then it came back down. So in this situation, you would not have bought until that level. You would have sold when you would have been happy. This would have been a tricky one, like I said, because it happened so fast. You didn't get a lot of time to make your green and get out. But that's how you would have played Google on the upside. On the downside, here it broke the level. It didn't close below, though, until here. So you could have got in there and sold down here. And if you would have held on long enough, I think eventually the larger dollar amount happened way down here. So you would have had to have held for another hour and a half. But your stop loss more than likely was when it broke back over here. So you would have been stopped out at this point. But from here to here on Google on a Friday, that's about a 7-point drop. That would have paid you nicely. But that's how you play that, is you wait until that candle closes below, and then you can get in. All right, let's look at the next one. Rivian. So Rivian was one of those that, here's my price level, 128.43 on the call side. This chart makes me so happy, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So this was the target, or the dollar that I put out on Thursday evening as the level that needed to get over. And you can see during pre-market, it touched it. During pre-market, it got up and above and came back down, touched it again, but opened up above it. So here's a good example of what do you do when the price opens above the trigger. Do you just jump in? You can. However, you have to be willing to accept a drop down to that trigger, and that's what would have happened here. You would have bought here, it would have came up and then it came back down to look what level? My 128.43. And then from there it bounced, and then it came down and touched again, 128.43-ish. We're talking within a few cents, and then it took off for the rest of the morning, all the way to the afternoon until some news came out, I think. And then it dropped, and where did it drop down to? 128.43-ish. This line makes me very happy because it shows that level of support that became support all afternoon, and then eventually it broke through, and now it became resistance. So Rivian was a good one to play. Your perfect entry would have been the retest right here. So it came down to the level. I would have entered here at 942. Rode that up. I would have probably have sold some at this level. It did not break through my level, so I would have held. And then at that point, it continued to climb all afternoon. Sell when you're happy. Okay? So that's how you would have played Rivian. But a great example of opens above the trigger line, wait for it to come down and retest, enter at that point. If you want to play safer, that's the first retest, so wait for the second retest. The entry here would have been great. You wouldn't have had to live through this downside because those prices of those contracts would have dropped, would have went up and came down pretty quick. But then from that point on, they climbed pretty nicely. Okay. And I think that overall went for over 200%. So $3 up to over $10. Next is Facebook. This one also makes me very happy. Another example, though, of what to do if the price opens up above the trigger. So we gapped up overnight. So if I go to the 15-minute, you can see here this gap up. We were at like 339 and we opened up like around 342-ish. So go to the 3-minute. You could have bought at open, but then you would have to live through this downside. So wait for the retest, right? Wait for it to come back down, which it did. Wait for the close above the line, which was here. And then from that point on, it climbed all morning long and then consolidated and finally came down a little bit in the afternoon. But this was over 800% of gain here. It went from $1.06 to $9.57. So a good example of wait for that retest. If it opens up gapped over again, wait for it to come down and touch the line. If it doesn't come back down, if it opens up here and just rockets all day, I consider that a fail because it didn't come down and touch it, and I probably wouldn't chase it at that point. The safest entry is for it to come down, touch, and then go. Because if it fails and continues to fall, you don't want to be caught buying in up here. All right? So that was Facebook. Lastly, we have PayPal. Another example of waiting for that retest. Okay? So this was on the downside. My level was 199.20, as you can see written in here. And what did we do? We came down through it a little bit. That 198.40 area became pretty good support for about an hour. So my trigger was off by about 60 cents. That would have been the better line, to be honest. But still, we came through. You could have bought at that point, but you, again, wait for that retest to come back up. It popped through. It came back down. This would have been your perfect entry right here at 1045. It broke through that line. It closed below that line. And then from that point on, it just continued down all day long. And that was over 200% on that one, 273% on PayPal, excuse me. So that's a quick lesson on how to use this chart, how to use the triggers that I give. Hopefully this was beneficial for you guys, and hopefully you're finding the Swan Lotto Fridays beneficial as well. I am thinking about doing more of this throughout the week, giving you other tickers on a watch list with some trigger lines, and we'll see what the response is and how you guys all on Twitter respond to it. So, hey, stay green, have a great week, and this is, again, Swan. We'll talk to you later.